Riordanverse. It's Rick Riordan's shared universe of books, which consists of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Heroes of Olympus, the Kane Chronicles, the Trials of Apollo, and Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. I grew up reading these books, starting with the original five Percy Jackson, and let me tell you, I've read them a lot, and it's become my seventh favorite book series of all time. Number one is The Wheel of Time, number two is Stormlight, number three is The Squirrel. It goes on. I've often wondered what the best order to read Riordan verses. So, and I've read the entire thing about two or three times, and I've read Percy Jackson about five times. I don't know. I've decided on two different orders that can get you into the series quick. Now, these two orders are separated by what you want out of reading the Universe. You want to read one long story at a time with no interruptions, but still understanding everything. This is what I would call the story order. Well, if you want to get all the references between the series while understanding everything that happens, I have created another one called the connections order. This is the one that I would use. Both of these orders are relatively simple, similar to another, but the connections order is a bit more thought out. I'll start with the connections order. Obviously, first off, you start with the original Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, specifically reading just the first four books, those being The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, and The Battle of the Labyrinth. After that, you'll want to read the short story collection, The Demigod Files. This book is very important, and if not here, it should definitely be read before you read the fourth Heroes of Olympus book, The House of Hades, as there's a major plot point in The House of Hades that only appears before in a short story in the Demigod Files. Specifically, this story is The Sword of Hades. After that, you'll continue with the main Percy Jackson series, finishing it off with The Last Olympian. After this, we'll stick to the Greek side of the story, reading the Heroes of Olympus series. These are The Lost Hero, Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades, also known as the best book in the entire series. Seriously, it does not get better than this, and The Blood of Olympus. After that, you'll read the short story collection, The Demigod Diaries. Now, the reason you'll read the Heroes of Olympus before the Egyptian series, the Kane Chronicles, is because there are numerous references to Heroes of Olympus and Kane Chronicles, and this is the connections order after all. In the story order, it really doesn't matter which one you read first. Next, we'll start with the Kane Chronicles, which consists of the Red Pyramid, the Throne of Fire, and the Serpent Shadow. Not much to say here, but after this, you'll finally be able to read Demigod and Magicians, a crossover between characters from both Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Kane Chronicles. The next two books are optional because they don't really play into the story and are more like Percy Jackson's summary of multiple Greek stories and legends. But I'd argue that these are well worth the read. They're very fun and can be shot through really quickly. These two are Percy Jackson's Greek gods and Percy Jackson's Greek heroes, or if you're in the UK, Percy Jackson and the Greek gods and Percy Jackson and the Greek heroes. Now, after this is where the order gets a little bit weird. There are numerous connections to the Magnus Chase series and the final two Child of Apollo books, but you should not read Magnus Chase before Child of Apollo because the third Magnus Chase has big spoilers for an event that takes place in the third Child of Apollo book. So, my proposed way to read is this: read the first three Child of Apollo books. That is, The Hidden Oracle, The Dark Prophecy, and The Burning Maze. Once you're done with those, read the entire Magnus Chase trilogy. That is the Sword of Summer, the Hammer of Thor, and the Ship of the Dead. Then jump right back into the Trials of Apollo books with the Titan's Tomb and the Tower of Nero. Then you'll read The Sun and the Star, which is the novel about Nico, a prominent character in the original series and Heroes of Olympus, and also Trials of Apollo, and also someone who I can't name because of spoilers. Then you'll finish it off with the new Percy Jackson trilogy, starting with the Chalice of the Gods. At the time of writing, only the first book in this trilogy has come out, but the second one is set to release this September, and the third one's probably gonna be out sometime next year. And that's the end of the connections order. I'll have the entire order in the description plus a blog post that links to it. Then the story order has minimal changes. I would definitely recommend starting with Percy Jackson with the story order, but honestly, Kane Chronicles also works. The only thing is Percy Jackson's a little bit better. You can either read Demigod Files after Percy Jackson or at least before Heroes of Olympus 4. Basically, after you finish Percy Jackson, read the entirety of Heroes of Olympus. Then you read the Demigod Diaries, which is optional. Then the entirety of Kane Chronicles, Demigods and Magicians, Greek Gods and Greek Heroes, which are both optional. The entirety of Trials of Apollo, then Magnus Chase, then you read The Sun and the Star, and next trilogy of Percy Jackson. So yeah, that wraps up the Riordanverse reading order. I have a couple of notes to make before I finish it off first. Don't read The Sun and the Star. At a later date, maybe it will become relevant to the plot, but it is not good enough for you to read it. Please do not read it. It is actually horrible. Um, the Sun and the Star is kind of unique because, well, it's not entirely written by Rick Riordan. It's written by another author, Marco Shiro. And I don't know if his involvement is the reason, but just did not like The Sun and the Star. And most of the fan base seems to agree with me. But yeah, that that's basically it. Uh, Thanks for reading this. I hope you enjoy, and smell you later.